Welcome to the bright side of longevity. Join host Dr. Roger Landry along with co-host Danielle Palli and guests as they discuss the bright side of getting older through healthy longevity. Guided by research, this lighthearted and educational show will leave you with practical ways to brighten your life's journey. Once again, welcome to the bright side of longevity. Today we are joined by Jeff McSpadden and Maestro Dworkin. Jeff McSpadden is co-founder and CEO at Composure, an evidence-based digital audio company that delivers original soundscapes for senior living communities to improve sleep and drive healthy outcomes for older adults living with dementia. As an entrepreneur, technologist, and lifelong musician and composer, Jeff has dedicated himself to the pursuit of sound as a vital ingredient to human thriving. Prior to launching Composure, Jeff's 15-year career as a composer includes writing and producing original music for film, television, and advertising, with clients such as MGM, NBC, CBS, PBS, HBO, and AMC, as well as a wide range of brands including Mercedes-Benz, Verizon, Progressive, and others. Jeff's career in music began in his hometown of Dallas, Texas, as a teenager playing trumpet in a range of idioms from jazz to classical to pop and world music. He moved to New York City, where he attended the New School for Social Research, where he graduated with a bachelor's in performing arts. Jeff continues to live in New York City, where he and his wife are raising their 2 teenage sons. Maestro Dworkin has led orchestras across America and abroad and has performed around the world. Maestro David is a graduate of the Juilliard School and the Columbia University Teachers College. He began his career as a clarinetist, and much of his career has been devoted to working with young people. Later, he combined his lifelong passion for conducting, performing, educating, and physical fitness, and launched the award-winning Conductorcise.
Music is a moral law. It gives soul to the universe, wings to the mind, a flight to the imagination, a charm to sadness, gaiety in life to everything. It is the essence of order and lends itself to everything that is good, just, and beautiful. And who said that? Plato, who lived between 400 and 300 BC. They knew that there was a connection with us. And now they're exploring it at places like the Institute for Music and Neurologic Function and these other places. So it's just amazing to me.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to the bright side of longevity. I'm here with my co-host, Danielle, and I don't know what I would do if she weren't there for my co-host. I know the quality of this program wouldn't be very good, talking about sound. And we're here with David Dworkin and Jeff McSpadden. Now, you've heard Jeff talk about Composure and what he does, and he's going to hang on also while we catch up with David. About a year ago, David, we were with you with Conductorcise. People have heard in your bio all that you have done and what you are currently doing, and what you plan to do for the next 20 or 30 years, right? You've been doing this a long time, David. But welcome back. And could you share with us how Conductorcise is going, what you've been observing, any trends that you see relative to Conductorcise music, and perhaps even some of the things that Jeff was talking about earlier?
Well, yes. There are many things going on in today's world. There's New Arts Blueprint, Neuro Arts Blueprint from the Aspen Institute that's doing a lot of research. And there's the International Arts and Mind Lab Center for Applied Neuroaesthetics at Johns Hopkins University. And, this book, Your Brain on Art, just came out. And I'm overwhelmed with the sophistication that my colleague has contributed so much. It's so great. I just plunge in there. I have learned a lot. Now, I have learned a little about the brain. It's interesting. I used to think that hippocampus was the University of Vermont on Friday night, that cerebellum was the gal I went out with in high school. The basal ganglia was something my wife used in her salad. The premolar area of the frontal cortex. Yeah,
those are good.
All this was told to me seriously by Connie Tomeno at the Institute for Music and Neural Function. She's a great gal. And she said, when you're born, it's like it's DNA. It's part of you. It's connected to a sound system. I don't know what that means really, except that there's a lot going on in the brain. And as I said earlier, I didn't focus on that, but I do have that as something very important. After pandemic, it's coming back slowly. I'm going to places locally and giving of my talents in that area. What I see is that it is so beneficial. These studies have said that music and all the arts are so important in our lives. They are so meaningful, and they want more and more people to know about it, and that's why this research comes out. What I do is interaction, and I have never had a program where the audience, be it preschool or at an independent and through memory care living place, has not been successful. Music awakens that individual. When you talk about what's good. After a program, the difference in their action, in their smiles, in their ability to move even, is kind of remarkable. And when you see that, it's helping the community that they live in, because they're nicer to the waiter, and they're nicer to the friend that's there, and they're nicer to their daughter. They're nicer people. And how could you not want that as a daily practice, to give them this energy? And also, that it's stimulating the brain by listening and directing them to things they haven't heard before. It's there, but they didn't hear it. It's part of the landscape, and you don't always see what's in the picture until it's shown to you.
You know, going back to the Leonard Bernstein quote, where it goes to the heart, I think we're talking about going to the soul too, because I mean, this is magical stuff. And yes, now that we can monitor brains with brain scans, we see that all this flurry of activity that's going on when someone's listening to music, most of which is extreme. Well, all of which is beneficial, some more than other. That's the thing. Anyway, again, I'm in awe of both of you, because this is I draw and I appreciate art and everything, but this is one area. Danielle, you're always been my hero. I guess I should, I don't have to win an Olympic gold medal or play at Carnegie Hall, but I ought to get going, right?
Absolutely.
All right.
I have to say, Oliver Sacks, who worked at the Institute for Music and Neurologic Function, took photos of the brain, and they light up like a pinball machine, blues and reds and yellows. And he said that that's showing you connections, the wiring is being reconnected in many cases, for the good. In certain people, they've done amazing things with music.
Promoting neuroplasticity. That's really what we're talking about.
It's amazing, and he's shown it there, what goes on in the brain, and I'm taken by it all.
Jeff?
Do you all remember, I don't remember how many years ago this was, but Senator Gabby Giffords was shot, had a traumatic brain injury. And one thing that almost no one knew was that she was a French horn player for most of her childhood and through college, I believe. And so deeply connected to music. And when they discovered that in the hospital, they brought in a music therapist to work with her. And she was unable to speak, very little response to other stimuli. As soon as the music therapist started working with her, and we've heard numerous stories about this over and over again, all of a sudden that neuroplasticity, that sort of rewiring of the brain, took place faster and faster and faster, to the point where it taught her how to speak again. Because there's a really interesting phenomenon in the brain, in the different hemispheres and so forth, that the motor skills required for speech can be tapped into in the presence and in the context of music. It's the same way you used to say you could memorize things better if you said it to a song. There's a whole famous episode of Cheers, that old Cheers show, where they do this. And so there's so many kind of things that we now understand that we didn't understand before, about neuroplasticity in music and arts. The other thing that you reminded me of, David, I just want to mention too, because it's kind of interesting maybe for the audience, is are you all familiar with Dr. Charles Lim?
No.
So he's a researcher, he's a medical professional, neurologist, brain scientist, I believe. Getting all those terms conflated together, but so pardon me. But he's also a musician, and so he did a fMRI study of musicians' brains performing different kinds of music, because he theorized and wanted to see if it was true that different regions of the brain are active in different kinds of music making. So he brought in a jazz musician who sat in an fMRI machine while just improvising. There's no music in front of him. He was improvising, making up melodies and so forth. And they measured that brain activity. And then they brought him, same individual back, put sheet music in front of him and said, just play what's on the page. So it's still the performance of a keyboard instrument in fMRI, but the frontal lobe was fired up in the sheet music reading exercise, and the improvising side was a completely the the frontal lobe was completely shut off, and the rest of the brain was fired up in ways that weren't present in the other. So it's these discoveries, like it's fascinating just on its own, right? But it's really these discoveries that's going to move this topic of neural arts forward, because now we understand what is actually benefiting, what is actually going on, and now with that understanding, you can actually administer to that, you know?
True enough. And I think what we're learning is what we don't know is huge about the brain. And that's, I think that's very optimistic.
So David, I've been curious. So what's been, number one, what's been happening since we last spoke, the kind of events, and also for people who maybe have not tuned in with you before, tell us about Conductorcise, because it combines the music element with the movement element. So can you talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, well, as I said, I'm going out more to these places that invite me to perform for their residents. Conductorcise is an interactive program where we use symphonic and opera music, but all kinds of music to get people moving. That's the thing. So I throw a chopstick in their hand and I show them a pattern of conducting. And they're conductors, it doesn't matter. It's a tool that I have. And I teach them the pattern, but they move any way they can. And to see this happen, with the spirit and the smiles on their faces, I know something is happening there. They're moving their bodies for an hour where they haven't moved them before. And I just did one, and this fellow, probably in his 80s, was doing this, and he said, oh, my shoulder. I said, you're going to be angry at me in the morning, because physically they're moving these parts of the body that they haven't ever moved before. And it can be done sitting or, chair bound or standing. And then the other part of the program is the storytelling, the telling stories about the composers, about the music. They're real people. I try to make them come to life. Smetana, the wonderful Czech composer, I do a work called The Moldau. He writes about his life and the river flowing through the countryside and going through actually a hunting scene, a wedding scene, the river and the St. John Rapids, and then going into Prague. And they tell me, oh my goodness, that was a journey. We took a journey. The other thing that happens is that people forget their problems for the hour. It'll come back. The problems are there always. But it may take more than a few minutes for them to get out of the mood. They are completely, from what I've seen, forget problems. I'll give you one instance that I remember. I may have said it before, but I was at this one place, and this woman comes in much before the audience comes in, and she's sort of sad, very sad, with a sad look on her face. And I went over to her and I said, my name is David, and I'm going to do the program, and I hope you enjoy, blah, blah, blah. And she said, she was crying. She said, I just put my better half into the section where memory care is. I'm not going to see him anymore. Every once in a while I'll see him. And it's very sad for me. So I said, well, I don't know what to do except try to do the program and I'll talk to you after. Well, she did the program, she participated, and after I went over to her, she said, you know, I forgot about John completely in this hour. And that, I think, would build her immune system, would make her feel better about herself, and it was a joy.
I like that,
David.
David.
How many people have come up to me and said, "You've added years to my life," or "We should have this all the time"?
I've talked to them, David, and it's marvelous. You know, I was reading recently that they're using virtual reality with people who have pain and say can't move an arm because it hurts, and they'll put on this virtual reality and they'll be moving their arm and without experiencing pain, and it can last for a day or two. It's not a complete cure or anything. And I think this is going on with music. And by the way, David, I think that's how you can be scalable. You know, get a virtual reality company to do your thing. And because I think Conductorcise would be a marvelous thing for someone to be participating in, and for pain, well, for all the things that you said, and I have seen, because I've been out there on the floor with everybody else with you. So
I second that about VR, and I've seen it firsthand. Our early experimentation as a company was in the VR space, where we were making interactive sound experiences in the experience, in this virtual experience. And I brought, just to test it out, I brought a couple headsets to it was assisted living community. And there was one woman who listened to our presentation and stayed after and said, "Can I try this?" And so we gave her a headset, and she was chair bound, but the same thing you talked about, David. She was stretching, moving. She was trying to interact, and I mean, really reaching over in different locations. And there was that added benefit that it wasn't just conducting the music; it was also trying to interact with certain virtual objects in her field of vision. But whatever gets them moving, right? And I think there's this really interesting, powerful thing that music and sound and visuals all kind of play together, this synergistic thing that happens and motivates people. And I think that's a beautiful story you told about how she forgot her troubles for an hour. And I love the notion you also that it maybe helped build some kind of immunity, right? In immune response and emotional immune response. It gives you resilience, is really what you're saying there. And I think
Exactly.
that's huge.
Well, you know, it's so easy.
Yeah.
You know, it's so easy. It's not complicated. I tell the story about 1943. You know, we got Oklahoma, and then we do this. Oh, what a beautiful morning! Even for those that have memory care, and they'll remember the chorus. Boom! You know, open your mouth and see what comes out. All the words come out. But right. What I tell them is that this was a very rough time in the world in 43, right in the middle of the war and blah, blah, blah. And those people going in had terrible problems, you know, or thoughts about their loved ones, etc. And they were then in a space that provided a haven, you know. And when they left, they had a little more love in their life, a little more joy in their life, a little more. And it may have lasted 5 minutes or 20 minutes or a day, I don't know, but it was there. They felt that they needed that. We need this rest period and this recoup period. I'm working. I'm working with a woman that I've known for years. She was director of one of the places I went to, and she's in a terrible situation with her husband. Who's got dementia and falls all the time. And I send her music. I send her music for her to listen to at a time when she can find time, have a glass of wine and listen to this. And she writes back always, "Oh, it's a lifesaver. It's a lifesaver for her."
You know, in America, particularly, we look for quick fixes. We look for a magic pill. We look for the easy way to get better. I think we found it. Really, it's certainly not going to cure everything, but let's face it: social connection, movement, pain, sleep, ease, alertness, quality of life. We've heard all of these things. This is something that we still don't completely understand, but we know that music and sound is tied to our brain function and our lives and everything that the brain controls. And I don't propose this is indeed a magic pill, so to speak, because it comes through your ears anyway, instead of your mouth. But it is something I think that is, as you say, David, so easy. And people get stressed. They I don't have time to listen to music. I don't have time to play music. I don't have time. Just when they need it most. I was thinking, you said resilience, Jeff, and just when people needed resilience, David, you couldn't get out there to help them because of COVID. So just when you need it most. But
No,
anyway,
I did. I put up 60 videos on Facebook that time.
excellent.
But I want to say one thing. ICAA is going to kill me for this, but I recently went and presented, and at the exhibits. The exhibits are all these machines and all these new gadgets and all these new things that I'm sure are, some of them are good and helpful and wonderful and cost thousands of dollars. And I think of what I do, which requires nothing except your body to respond to the music, and all these machines, they've got amazing machines there and all that, but I don't know. It's a simple, it is a simple fix, but it works. It works, and that's what counts.
Dr. Roger Landry is a preventive medicine physician trained at Tufts University School of Medicine and Harvard University School of Public Health. For nearly 2 decades, his focus has been on empowering older adults to experience a healthy longevity. He is the award-winning author of the book Live Long, Die Short, A Guide to Authentic Health and Successful Aging. Dr. Landry is an inspiring storyteller and presenter. His keynote addresses are powerful, entertaining, and optimistic. Learn more at livelongdieshort.com.
Well, I've been in touch with Susan McSpadden, the author of Your Brain on Art, along with Ivory Ross. And, she is co-director of the Neuro Arts Blueprint at Aspen and the Neuro Aesthetics and Mind Lab at Johns Hopkins University. She's director of that. And she's very interested in the program. And that, to me, is a big bonus, you know. I'm excited about the future. I have limited time. I know that.
You're going to live forever. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Well, it's a very good time that they are finding out, as I said, researching, because it's becoming so important in our daily lives. We want to get this arts out there, not only in music but in all visual arts and performing arts, theater. It all is so good for us that books are being written and it's being explored all over the place. So that's the work I have to do. I need to get out there as much as possible, and I will.
Yeah, and you're leaving such a legacy. Like I said, I want you around forever. But just the work that you've done and continue to do is very inspiring. And I'll tell you something real quick, because I coach people who are really stressed out, and a lot of times I'm prescribing, listening to music, and it's a shame that people think it's a luxury. And I'm telling them it is not a luxury to do something that's enjoyable for yourself.
Absolutely. And there is so much repertoire. There's so much repertoire. I'm still learning,
Absolutely.
All these years, you hear a piece of music that this person wrote 200 years ago, and I don't know that work, and all of a sudden, bingo, it's there. It's just an amazing thing,
It really is. And I found recently some interesting research that talked about listening to music doesn't mean what you think it means sometimes. So some people who want to listen to music to calm down isn't, as I mentioned this earlier, you don't necessarily want to listen to calming music. You might want to listen to music that matches how anxious you feel. Yes. Because that sort of feeling identified or feeling in sync with that experience actually has a calming effect. It almost takes out the bite and the or what sort of they would refer to in Buddhism as the attachment, the attachment to the anxiety. It takes that away, and then all of a sudden you can see it for what it is and let go of it. It's great. It's really great.
So I'd like if both of you could sort of sum this up for us. I certainly don't feel qualified to do it because, I am a music amateur. But please, if you would, Jeff.
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me on and getting an opportunity to share and hear everybody's thoughts. I mean, it was really a pleasure to meet everybody. And it's hard to summarize, but one thing that I'm sort of immediately left with, a feeling I'm left with, and part of the mission that we're on at Composure, we just said it works. When music and sound is used in a way that goes beyond just sort of the old thinking of, well, it's just entertainment, some kind of, it's candy, it's whatever. No, when it's used with purpose and strategy, it works. We all know that. We can all universally agree that that's a truth, right? Now, the work to be done is how do we use it? How do we get it, through David's work, through the work that we're doing, through the work that, so many people are out there doing. I think the challenge is, how do you, quote unquote, administer this to benefit as many people as possible? And there's a lot of unanswered questions around how that gets done properly. I think is the work next to be done.
I struggle
well said, Jeff.
With
David,
getting to audiences and to get the work out there. I know in my heart that it works, that I'm doing good, but I do good only for those that I see. And there are so many more out there that could really benefit from the program. So my work is to find out how to do this, and I'll explore this virtual reality that you suggest, Roger. And hopefully something will come of it.
Jeff, maybe you can help him out. You're probably in the tech area, and I don't know.
Let's get talking.
Yeah, okay. Let's keep talking. Because you do have to get it out there, David. Jeff's a young man. He's going to have a huge impact. He's still got a lot to go. And, and you have done so much, and it is such a treasure chest. You are a national treasure, and we had to get a way to make it scalable. And as Jeff says, we now have that technology. So let's get on it, guys. All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you both for being with me, with us. Danielle, thank you very much. And again, I couldn't do this without you. And you got us, Jeff. And David and I have been friends for decades. And so that's how this all came together. So a team effort, right? Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
You've been listening to The Bright Side of Longevity with host and preventive medicine physician and award-winning author Dr. Roger Landry and co-host nationally board-certified positive psychology and mindfulness coach Danielle Palli. If you like the show, please rate and review, and be sure to click to follow.